goodness. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. Waking the worlds up. Physically, mentally, spiritually, and then physically again. Why? To feel so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. Why? Because when you feel good, you think good. And when you think good, you do good. Again, when you feel good, you think good. And when you think good, you do good. Today, welcome to another Truth Hurts Days. We'll be talking about how you cannot convince nobody of nothing. Welcome back. This is Herbie and this is Pagawan. Good morning. Some technical difficulties, but we're starting right back up here. Let's do this again. Today is 5:44 a.m. on Thursday, August 19th, 2021. It is another Truth Hurts Day. Today we'll be talking about how you cannot convince nobody of nothing. That's a good thing, so relax. It's relaxing time, as we are always feeling so good with a little bit of guided breathing and a little bit of guided thinking. Today, my name is Herbie. Welcome. And every day, my name is Herbie. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pow Go On. We'll be talking about how you cannot convince nobody of nothing on another Truth Hurts Days. We will be absolutely right back. Thank you for that host, Herbie like. To another Truth Hurts Days, everybody. Today we will be talking about how you cannot convince nobody of nothing. And that's a good thing. So relax. Relax. Wherever you are, as we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every morning, whether you are kicking your sheets off you, or whether you are making some coffee, looking at the nice view, or whether you are making some orange juice, or maybe you are making yourself an egg, or you're walking outside. How are you feeling today? How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? Where are you? Have you been thinking about how you're going to be okay? And another Truth Hurts Days where we talk about some hurtful truths, you know, like the truth does hurt, but it hurts so good as it helps you set you free, right? Helps you not think about some things when you used to be worrying about them, used to be wondering all this time, right? As you are pleased, remember, let's feel so good from the inside. How do we do that? With the help of your body, baby. Please, with me, let's move your awareness. Let's stretch your awareness by pretending with me that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. Wherever you are, whether you're walking, sitting down, lying down, upside down, whatever you are doing, please, just give this a shot. Pretend with me that there's a candle about 1 to 2 inches in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do it, and to observe your sense of self. Whether you are talking to a friend, or maybe you are just hanging out by yourself, please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. Please, again, would you pretend with me that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out? And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you observe your sense of self as this happens. Remember, you cannot convince nobody of nothing. You can just reveal to them Their brains are so strong that they can just reveal to themselves things. They can just see patterns. As we are letting that go now. Letting it go that you cannot convince anybody of anything. Their brains or their sense of awareness is just so strong that they will see when they see. So we can let that go. You cannot convince anybody. As you're pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. To leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. And just observe your sense of self as it happens. Again, would you with me please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out, as we are remembering that you cannot convince anybody of anything. Please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out and leave the swallowing muscles alone as you do so. Just observing your sense of self. As in how you feel in the body. Just keep that candle in your awareness. Don't think about inhaling or exhaling. Just put that candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone, wherever you are. Whether you're going through some great times, happy times, rememberable times, or whether you're going through some painful times, hardships, struggles that you're trying to overcome. Please remember that you cannot convince anybody of anything. You can let that go, as you are please remembering with me that there is a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. Please remember that. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. And just observe your sense of self. Don't think about breathing in or out wherever you are, whether you are doing laundry or you are walking up the stairs or down. Remember that you cannot convince anybody of anything, for their brains are just as smart as yours. They can do that crazy thing that you just did with their awareness. And so should we be trying to convince people with these 2D words of what they should believe, doesn't their brain always win out? Their brain, their amazing sense of awareness that you yourself have, right? How can we convince anybody with these linear words, right? The words have to go one after the other, right? They go. The only reason why you can understand these words right now is because some words precede others, some words are going after others, and some words are going before others. In order for you to understand this meaning of the sentences that I'm saying, this linear language, they're in a line, right? Linear. As in some words go before others, some words go after, and that is important to its entire meaning, right? For you to understand what the heck I'm even saying, they must come before each other or after each other. So this linear language of these words, we're trying to convince this 3D body, as in using these linear language words, you're trying to convince a human brain, a human body of anything when that thing is always working in 3D. As in your awareness is on all these different things, right? Of how you're feeling on the inside of this, and how you're feeling emotionally, or how you're feeling spiritually, of how safe you feel right now, whether you're in the mood to be solving problems or you just want to be focused on the senses. You have all of your just different senses competing for your attention simultaneously as you're also thinking thoughts, and you're aware of different consciousnesses inside your heads, you know? And yet you're trying to change that pattern. You're trying to force that entire 3D orchestra of your awareness to believe a something with linear words compared to what it can see with its 3D world experience. I doubt it. You cannot convince nobody of nothing. For their awareness, just like yours, is so magical. It's so 3D. It's so beautiful. As in when we pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you observe your sense of self. What kind of experience do you have? Is it 3D or 2D? So how can you convince anybody of anything using those 2D words? Can you not just shift their awareness? Can you not just direct where it should go? This awareness that they have that's so strong. So today on the Truth Hurts Day, on Thursday, August 19, 2021, 5:54 a.m., you know that you cannot convince nobody of nothing. You cannot convince anybody of anything. So relax. Just so relax. Give yourself permission to relax because you cannot convince anybody of anything. As your brain, your awareness is so strong itself, right? You can only reveal, it can reveal, the world itself can reveal itself to our amazing observer of a human body that we are. But to convince it, tough luck. You can bring into its awareness. So relax. So relax wherever you are. Whenever you are, you cannot convince anybody of anything. What are you up to? What you up to? How are you? Are you feeling pretty positive? Have you been feeling pretty low lately? Have you been feeling like you're on an upward trend, or has it been feeling like it's been descending and it's never gonna come back? Never gonna come back. Are you looking for something right now, or are you just sitting down feeling pretty content? How hard would it be to convince people that you are doing those things rather than just doing it? They say the proof is in the pudding, right? You wouldn't try to convince somebody, hey, I was sitting on that chair. I swear, because look, 5 hours ago, I was over here. 4 hours ago, I was over here. And then now I'm sitting on this chair. You see? When you could just sit on the chair. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. You cannot convince nobody of nothing, but that's a good thing. On the Truth Hurts days, where the truth hurts so good, you cannot convince anybody of anything, and that's a good thing, so you can relax. They're smart. The world reveals itself to them, and you're part of the world. You know what I'm saying? How hard would you try to... Have you ever noticed that when you try to convince, for example, like your boss, that you deserve this raise, or you try to convince somebody that you will be on time, isn't their awareness so strong that they remember patterns, that they remember behavior over time, that they can just see if you are becoming less and less late? Maybe you can bring into their awareness of how it's happening, but to convince them, tough luck. You can continue to do that thing, be the living example, such that their awareness cannot ignore it. But trying to convince them is like asking them to not be aware of what's going on, but rather to be aware of what you want them to be aware of, or what you want them to see, instead of just directing their awareness. It's like projecting your awareness onto them. You cannot convince nobody of nothing, but you can be the proof in the pudding. We'll be right back, everybody. Please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles alone as you observe your sense of self wherever you are, whenever thou art. We'll be right back, guys. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual inner peace, inner strength. Feeling so good from the inside out. Why? Because when you feel good, you think good. And when you think good, you do good. Did you know that you cannot convince nobody of nothing? Wherever you are, as we are stretching our self-awareness every day like a muscle. We are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle. Where art thou right now? How are you? How is your inner world feeling these days? Do you feel attached or does it feel disconnected and discombobulated? How are you? Are you in the library? Are you perhaps cleaning your car, cleaning your room, cleaning your life? Are you cleaning up? Where are you? Are you feeling afraid right now? Or are you feeling grounded and centered? Are you thinking about the past or future? Or are you focused on the present? Are you remembering to love life? Breathe in this air by focusing on your body's movement, like remembering the front of your shins. Are you remembering that you don't sit on your legs? Where are you right now? Are you in the shower? Are you in the bathroom? Are you outside? Are you fixing the car? Are there other people around or are you alone? Have you been remembering to place the weight of the body into the weight-bearing portions of the spine, like the front? And have you been remembering that your weight is not delivered into your tailbone, but rather into those rainbow arches? There's two rainbow arches, whoosh, from your pelvis bone, not your tailbone. You don't want to be delivering weight into your tailbone. It's gonna hurt. That's not where your body wants to deliver weight. Look at all those nerves in there. Ba 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 ba. All those nerves. Doesn't it feel so good to remember the weight-bearing portion of the spine, wherever you are? You might be waiting at the hospital. You might be waiting at the doctor's office. You might be waiting at the auto repair mechanic's shop. You know how that is. How are you? Where are you? Have you been feeling lonely? Or have you been feeling very content with yourself? Are we remembering that we cannot convince anybody of anything, anything? We cannot convince nobody of nothing. But that's a good thing, aren't you? The Truth Hurts Day especially. The Truth Hurts Day. Talk about a few truths that might hurt, but I mean, the truth hurts so good, right? Because it sets you free. The truth hurts, right? But it's a good thing because it sets you free. Doesn't it? The truth hurts, but it sets you free. So that you are no longer wondering, you are no longer spending energy wondering and wanting to know and wanting to find out. So doesn't it feel good to allow yourself to know that you cannot convince anybody of anything? So relax. Just relax. You cannot. Why can you cannot? Why can you cannot convince anybody of anything? The human body, the human brain, just like yours, is so strong, right? When you are pretending that there's a candle in front of your lips, wherever you are. If you are pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out. And to leave your swallowing muscles as you observe your sense of self. That experience is so 3D. Unlike these words that you're hearing from me that have to go 1, 2, 3. They have to go in order, right? For you to understand these words. But your senses, your whole body, your body's awareness, that superpower of awareness that your body has. This superpower of awareness, right? So strong that how could you convince it of anything? But rather, can't you just place its awareness on certain things so that it goes in certain directions? As you can't turn off your entire awareness. And nobody can. Nobody can turn off their awareness at all. Their awareness is always on something. But trying to convince somebody of something is trying to put new things into their awareness that are not there, as their awareness is always picking up on things already. Can't we just direct people's awareness? Our brains and human brains and human bodies. The body and the brain, pretty much same thing, right? How do you even feel your body? Well, these synapses must make their way to the brain. Body and brain, same thing, so strong that you cannot convince it of nothing. Nobody, not even yourself. Have you ever noticed that when you start trying to convince people of things, it starts going downhill? It starts going way downhill very quickly. As soon as you're trying to explain, you're losing already, right? You're trying to convince them. But rather, the proof is in the pudding. The human brain, the human body is so strong in its awareness that it can see what it sees already in the reality of the world. The best you possibly can do is orient it or guide it towards certain awarenesses. But the awareness itself, so strong that should you try to convince it of anything, should it already not be in its awareness, it will battle out with all these different things in its awareness, questioning, cutting at its knees, breaking its credibility of what you're trying to convince them of, because all of their senses, their entire holistic life, body senses, thinking about the past, present, future, all the different layers of consciousness, survival, emotion, logical, all the different times that people are thinking about, past, present, future, combining all of those to create this entire 3D body of understanding and truth of the world and everything in it. Yet you want to try to convince it of this one thing when it has this entire world at its scope. It's constantly asking what you're supposing from with different questions from every different angle, cutting its credibility. You cannot convince, should you be trying to convince. However, people can be convinced using their own awareness when certain things are revealed to them. Should you be a living example of what you're trying to convince them of, they may themselves convince themselves through their own awareness. But should you be trying to convince, you are now taking away from the action that you were trying to convince them of. Also revealing to them how you believe about the human spirit, and that it is so weak that it can be convinced into things instead of just simply being caused to be revealed from the inside of what's going on. Same way that when someone finally clicks of how math works, when 3 plus 3 equals 6, 4 plus 4 equals 8, just clicks for some people eventually. It just clicks. It's revealed to them from the inside, this entire pattern. Do they need to add every single number in the number line for them to understand that 99 plus 1 will equal 100? No. There's an inner understanding, an inner revelation. Something is revealed to them from the inside, a pattern. They have convinced themselves by seeing this pattern of what's going on, and now they no longer need to try every number in the freaking galaxy, but rather understand that all those freaking things, all those numbers fit into this tiny little box of concept of what adding does. Amazing. Amazing. Entire galaxy. Ooh, compressed into this itty bitty understandable piece of information. How fantastic are human beings? How fantastic are these freaking human beings? Isn't that true? Able to collapse galaxies of meaning that would have made a human being's head spin thousands of years ago. Galaxies of information that would have made a human being's brain spin thousands of years ago. They'd be foaming at the mouth to even conceive these numbers. And yet, the human body and the human brain from the inside can reveal a pattern. Can see a pattern in the weave that can convince itself that all this galaxy of information also fits into this tiny little box that you can take with you, and you do not have to worry about it anymore. You do not have to stress your human soul. You do not have to spend human energy wondering if 9,000 billion plus 1 will equal 9,000 billion and 1. But you can relax. As your brain, your body thing, this window to this godlike experience of yours, this vessel has already revealed to you. And so no one can convince you, but you yourself has been convinced from the inside out. So you can relax. This is just the nature of human beings. We'll be right back. Please remember the candle. Don't put it out. And please leave your swallowing muscles alone as you observe your sense of self. We'll be right back, okay?
So hollow and high, deep in my vibrating lines that make my therapist see red signs. Damn, at war with my demons. Rest, familiar with the game, so I know I'll body the rest. Yeah, it's all good.
Hey, you. Hey, you. Everything's gonna be okay. Welcome back to another Truth Hurts Day on Pogo 1. It is 6:10 a.m. on August 19th, 2021. It is Thursday, Truth Hurts Day. How are you wherever you are? Whenever you are, however thou art, whenever thou art. How are you? Are you remembering that you cannot convince anybody of anything? So are you remembering to relax? Are we remembering to relax? Relax. As we are pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out today, whether you're with your friends, jumping around in the meadows. What are you up to right now? When's the last time you frolicked through a meadow? Or maybe you are just inside brushing your hair. Do you miss anybody right now? Maybe the person you miss is yourself. Maybe you miss being able to feel so good in your own body with nobody else. What is your awareness on right now? Isn't it true that in order to understand, or in order to enable anyone to understand where you're coming from, don't you first have to understand what they're aware of? Don't you have to understand them from the inside out to know what they're paying attention to, in order to best illuminate them to what you're thinking about? Because if their attention is on the pain that they're feeling in their life, as soon as you talk to them, is their awareness on your situation, or is it on the pain in their own lives? Or is their awareness on the room and simply the space that they're in instead of the future or instead of the past? But what if their awareness is in here in the present? Then are they not now more susceptible to understanding what you're saying? Are they not more receptive to what you're saying? Should their awareness be on the moment, where the room is right now, where you are right now? Is the light leaking through the windows? Are there windows where you are right now? Are you in the moment, or are you in another moment? Future, past? Are you in another moment feeling something that's not happening? Perhaps old trauma. Perhaps feelings that are trying to self-sabotage you. Are you experiencing this moment where you're having thoughts enter one ear and out the other? And are you able to just sit in those thoughts? Sit in this awareness of the moment. No matter how uncomfortable it is, are you able to sit in the moment? Are you able to pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out? To leave your swallowing muscles alone as you do so. There's nothing quite like the human awareness, as it is so 3D from the inside out. Imagine you yourself, like imagine a small version of yourself, like in the middle of your core, like the front of your spine. Imagine like a little version of you in there, and you look around the space, you're seeing the inside of your body in 3D, right? This is how your senses are, in 3D. Feeling the back of you, feeling the front of you, feeling the sides of you. And yet all the thoughts that coincide with feeling those things, and all the thoughts that coincide with who you are and what you want to do. So 3D from the inside out. Your body is so amazing. Placing its awareness on whether it be the room, or can even place its awareness on what's going on outside of its vision. Outside of the room, your awareness, right? You ever been with your friends wishing you were somewhere else? You ever been alone wishing you were with your friends? Isn't your awareness being guided towards thoughts about your friends? Things that you've done? Your awareness is so strong, yet we want to try to convince it from the outside in, but it can only convince itself from the inside out. We can guide it, this incredible, masterful symphony that our body and our awareness is, but to convince it, tough luck. That feels so good, letting it go. Giving yourself permission. We'll be right back. Please pretend the candle. Leave your swallowing muscles alone. Preserve your sense of self, and we'll be right back. You cannot convince anybody. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual inner strength, guys. Hope you're feeling well out there. Hope you're feeling well out there. You know, do what you will. Of course, do what we will. We'll always do what we will, but I recommend not believing that you can convince anybody of anything. And giving yourself permission to believe that. You yourself are so strong. How do we know you can't convince anybody of anything? Because you yourself can be convinced of anything except from the inside out. Your awareness can be brought to see certain things, to be aware of things, and to have things revealed to it. It's a giant pattern of numbers, right? Giant pattern of things in the weave. Giant patterns of how people feel about you, of how you are feeling about other people. You cannot convince your boss that you deserve that raise, but you can behave in a way where it's obvious that you deserve a raise, and then bring it to their awareness of what's going on. You cannot convince them to see something that's not there, but you can reveal to something that is there. You cannot convince them that you will be there on time, but rather show up on time and make them believe it. Make them believe. Make them believe. You super window to this godlike experience that you are. You make them believe it. You got this. You know what I'm saying? Wherever you are. Whether you are jogging outside, whether you are working on a project, whether you're working at work or multiple works. Allow yourself permission to understand that you cannot convince anybody of anything. Because the proof is always in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. You'll know when you eat it, you'll know when you see it. And doesn't that give you freedom to love life? And to not fear death, to love life in the moment. All these 3D things happening around you, bah, in all different directions. Right now, right here and now. Instead of trying to convince somebody of a future that you don't even know is certain. But doesn't that give you freedom to love life here? To love life now? To know that you cannot convince anybody of anything. The proof is in the pudding. They will see it. The same way that your own human experience sees things. The same way that your own human experience simply needs to be guided and brought into the proper levels of awareness to understand things and to be convinced of things from the inside out. We know you cannot convince anybody because we ourselves cannot be convinced from the outside in. Using these linear words, they're so paltry. These one-by-one words to form sentences. Pale in comparison to our 3D inside awareness world, where we are establishing connection in the outside world with seemingly unrelated elements of the entire universe. Entire universes of thought, of ideas, compressed into itty-bitty compressed files into your brain. Because your body and awareness is just so good at awareness. Can see all those things and understand gigantic patterns of the weaves, blah, like that, in a way that would make linear language, like the language that you're understanding me through right now, it would make it blush in how fast our awareness can put together meaning. Absolutely light speed. So whether you're with your friends, or you are with your family, or you are just alone, remember that you can't convince nobody of nothing. It's just impossible. Because you yourself cannot be convinced of nothing, right? You can see patterns. There will be patterns that reveal itself to you, but to be convinced from the outside in, have you ever noticed how trying to convince people with words, once you start explaining, you're already losing? Losing a battle? Not a battle, but losing your authenticity towards what you're trying to get. As convincing people starts off with the idea of you wanting them to understand something because you have some goals in mind. But doesn't trying to convince them treat them like less than you? Doesn't that treat them like less than what you are aware of in your world is possible for your awareness? Your awareness, even if you try to convince it of something, it's just working overtime, exponentially stronger than any kind of language. So it's constantly checking what you're saying, breaking the knees of its credibility from every different angle because it has everything in its awareness as you're trying to convince it with these words. Have you ever noticed that you can't convince yourself of anything, but rather can be revealed from within to large-scale patterns, which is convincing, but the act of trying to convince, have you ever noticed how it does the exact opposite? Because doesn't it say something about someone having to try to convince you to believe something rather than for them to just bring it into your awareness, something that exists, rather than just trying to get them to believe something, but isn't it actual believing when you can actually get their awareness to see something rather than just get them to believe it? You see, trying to convince people, the act of trying to convince people is more about you. It's more about you trying to make them believe something as opposed to you trying to reveal to them something that is already real. Rather than you trying to bring their awareness to something that it already exists, like maybe how often you're coming into work, you're trying to convince them, trying to change what they believe, as opposed to trying to just bring their awareness to something that is true. This convincing thing is just not possible. You're trying to get them to believe something, but humans are observers. We're constantly observing the entire world. Sorry, universe. You believe what you believe based on what you see in your awareness. You have no hope but to believe that. So how do you make sure that your boss knows that you deserve that raise? Give them no hope but to see it. As in, give them no hope but to see it, as in, be the example. And when you need to bring it to their awareness, there's no hope but for them to see it. It will just be true. You will simply be revealing to them truth. But we cannot convince nobody of nothing, and we should allow ourselves the freedom to stop thinking that. You cannot convince nobody of nothing, and how do you know that? Because you yourself cannot be convinced of anything from the outside in either. But rather, your attention to your awareness gives you the ability to establish revelation, or to experience revelations, to experience big truths, to experience the act of being convinced. We know that. We know that you cannot be convinced from the outside in, but you can be convinced by what your brain and body become aware of on the inside world. How about this love thing? How about your affection for this person? Can you convince them of that by words? Can you try to participate in the act of convincing them, or can you participate in the act of loving them such that they cannot have any hope but to observe it? Now, emotionalisms and feelings ain't love, right? We're talking love as an action, as in the truth without hatred, and the proper attention on the proper things. The truth without hatred is what love is, right? So what about this love thing? Should you be trying to convince them, trying to make them believe that you love them? Aren't you spending more time trying to convince them or trying to make them believe something rather than just putting it into their awareness, a truth that is that you love them through action? And how do you bring it to their awareness? Well, if it's not true, if it doesn't bear any semblance to the truth, then their body's not going to latch onto it. Their brain's not going to latch onto it. They might believe it for a little bit, but the entire world constantly cuts at the knees of anything untrue. The truth is the truth because it constantly reasserts itself. Constantly is true over time. So should you be trying to convince somebody of something, the act of trying to convince somebody, you're fighting an uphill battle. As our bodies are always experiencing in 3D, always establishing meaning, way stronger, way faster than any kind of words. We'll be back for one final break, and then when we come back, we will sign out. We will send you guys off, wherever you are. Be right back out of this break. Please remember the candle and do not put that thing out as you're observing your sense of self today. And leave your swallowing muscles alone, as we will be right back, okay? Be right back. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength and inner peace. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would. Feel without. Why? Because when you feel good, you think good, and when you think good, you do good. Again, would you say it with me? When you feel good, you think good. And when you think good, you do good. Please remember to allow all these words to go in one ear and out the other as we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle this morning. Are you guys ready to go? Where are you right now? Are you going to work? Are you already at work? Maybe you're finishing this out. Are you ready to feel that candle one more time? Now you remember to allow yourself to remember that you cannot convince nobody of nothing, so we can relax. We can relax. Or you want to, how about this relationship thing? You want to convince them that you're a good boyfriend? Yeah, feel the front of your shins and be the good boyfriend. Once you start explaining, you're already losing, right? Once you try to put something into their awareness that is not there, aren't you already, first of all, divorcing time from what you could be using to actually make that true so that they can put it into their awareness? But aren't you already, but when you start explaining yourself, aren't you already revealing to their awareness this superpowered awareness, right? That is always seeing everything all the time, all seeing in 3D, everything it knows, past, present, future, and everything that's happening right now with all the senses. You're trying to convince that with your words about something that's not going on. You're trying to convince that with the words. No, you can't convince nobody, but you can guide it. It can only be guided towards things that it feels are true. As the truth will stick in a way that lies will not. You cannot convince anybody of anything, so relax. Be the example. Know that they are just like you. You cannot be convinced of anything, right? But you can be convinced from the inside out. No one can convince you with these words, but you can be convinced from the inside out by seeing, by being revealed from the inside out. By patterns revealing themselves in the inside out. It can only be revealed to this amazing orchestra. Should you be trying to convince it with words, wherever you are, whether you're talking to a girl, whether you're talking to a boy, whether you are talking to your ma, whether you're talking to your boss, or a friend. Us ourselves cannot be convinced from the outside with these words, right? As we're always seeing the world for what it is. So isn't it the truth for everyone else? So can't we relax and enjoy that on the Truth Hurts days? It might hurt. You cannot convince nobody, but it's just true, so relax. Now we can stop thinking about it, stop worrying about it. Would you please pretend with me that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out? To leave your swallowing muscles alone as you observe your sense of self. And remember that you do not sit on your legs, guys. How does that feel for you, wherever you are? I hope you have a fantastic day today. Remember that you cannot convince nobody of nothing. So relax. Please pretend that there's a candle in front of the lips that you're trying to not put out and to leave your swallowing muscles alone. As you do so, as you observe your sense of self, you know we will be back here every weekday at 5:30 a.m., making you feel so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would. Feel without. All the words enter one ear and out the other. Feel so good in that body of yours, because when you feel good, you think good. And when you think good, you do good. My name is Herbie, everybody. It is 6:32 a.m. on Thursday, August 19, 2021. Truth Hurts days. Today we talked about you cannot convince nobody, so please have a great, fantastic day. comments. Thank you for all the love for this channel. We appreciate it so much, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps us out. We'll see you guys tomorrow on Friday, Freedom Friday. See you guys.